If you've been thinking about being in therapy, if you're experiencing symptoms of mental distress and cannot decide how you should approach therapy, this video is for you. We have clinical psychologist Dr. Pooja Shivam Jetli with us to answer all your therapy related questions and demystify the whole process for you. Thank you for being with us, Dr. Pooja.
Thank you for having me, Arnika.
Okay, so let's talk about therapy. What is psychotherapy, and if you could tell us about the different types of psychotherapy that are available.
So therapy is like, therapy in any form is treatment to help, cure, or manage any kind of illness or disorder that people have. And psychotherapy per se is focusing mainly on, people who are struggling with mental health concerns or psychological issues. And in this, the client or the patient, they work collaboratively with the therapist to uncover what is bothering them, why it is bothering them, and how they can work upon it. And the purpose is to probably understand the mental health concerns that the client is experiencing. Like I said, it is a collaborative relationship, and again, therapists can have different approaches. There are various schools of thoughts, and from them have emerged various types of psychotherapy like psychodynamics, behaviorist, cognitive behavior therapy, gestalt therapy. Some people even have a very, eclectic approach, which is like a multifaceted approach where they borrow from a lot of schools of thought, and it is more client centered, it is more individual centered, and they use the mixed approach to work on the concerns that bother the client.
Right. Uh, could we also talk about what are the things that people seek therapy for? Sometimes we feel that we might have experienced a traumatic event in our life. We might be seeing some symptoms that we have read about or heard about symptoms of mental distress or mental illness. But sometimes, we are not necessarily going through something major, but we still might not be feeling at peace. So talk to me about what are the things people can seek therapy for.
So if I talk about the current times, people are seeking therapy for a whole lot of concerns, and they may not be falling into a category of mental disorder. They could be people who are probably at risk. So people who are finding it difficult to adjust into a life situation, changes in their job, in their life situation, circumstances, even a lot of people who are seeking more clarity with the kind of demands being placed on them in their lives. And they're, these are not really, these are mainly lifestyle related concerns for which people do seek a professional help. However, many years ago, it was mainly about when there was a disorder diagnosed like a depression or a psychosis or anxiety is when people were seeking mental health for. In the last, I would say, 7 years, 5 to 7 years, I've seen an increase in the number of, clients who are falling in the at-risk category. They may not fall into a diagnostic category, but they could just be embarking on one because the demands have been too overwhelming for them. They are unable to deal with it, and they seek a little clarity. There could be also unresolved issues or concerns that they have been probably putting on the back burner, not addressing them. So a lot of times it could be just a buildup of a lot of things, and a significant event in their life could precipitate an anxiety reaction or a state where they feel they no longer can deal with it on their own. I think in one of the interviews that we've done earlier, I've told that what is mental health when you need help. I think that's very critical, that any time that you feel that things around you are becoming too much for you to deal with and significantly interfering with your personal, social, and occupational functioning is when you seek help. So, like I said, that a lot of lifestyle related concerns, a lot of adjustment issues, a lot of clarity in terms of sometimes even preventive psychotherapy is done when they feel that there are certain things. I mean, I'm seeing in a very positive way. A lot of parents who are bringing their children where they feel that some of the traits could push them into a difficult situation later on, and they want to work upon them, maybe in the personality, maybe in the way they approach things, even for individuals. So whole lot of other things, relationship issues, again, adjustment issues, relationship issues, and of course, hardcore mental health concerns or disorders like anxiety, depression, psychosis, etc.
Right. Another concern that people have about therapy is that do they have to be in therapy forever or for years? Because that's what we have somehow imbibed from reading or just from hearing about it from other people. And for it's a major concern because it kind of deters us sometimes to be in therapy. How long do you think should a person be in therapy? Does it depend on the condition that they're diagnosed with? Or, for people who just want to have a better relationship with their mind, a better relationship with people they love, or just be more mentally healthy, how long should they be in therapy for?
So it will vary on the kind of concern a person has. And we have both short-term and long-term therapy, psychotherapy per se. And a lot of times, significant population of people could benefit from short-term psychotherapy, a couple of sessions, and probably become a little more functional than what they were, get a more clarity on certain things, and take more informed decisions, or positions regarding certain things that bother them. However, certain things might require a long-term work. And remember that the frequency of your sessions over a period of time will get spaced out. The focus of therapy changes from what it is in the beginning to what it goes on to when you reach a certain number of sessions and then towards the end. It's a very scientific process, and most trained people follow the process. Again, it's a myth that all forms of psychotherapy is long term. No, it is not. Sometimes a couple of sessions is what you can benefit from and may not require further on. Sometimes what even happens is that some people work on certain areas, get a little, perspective on things, develop a certain skills, become a little better, and then take a break and revisit on certain other areas a little later. I've had clients who've been associated with me for a number of years, but they have not continued therapy they've had periods where they've been regular with sessions and then taken a break and came back when they again were faced with certain areas and we worked on certain issues. Remember, there has to be a readiness in the client to work upon certain areas. And without that readiness, a therapist will not be able to work on those areas with you. So you may not be ready for a certain area to be worked upon, and that's all right. But remember that unless, it could be that you probably want to work upon a certain area and then maybe take a break and come back again. So short term and long term both exist. Again, it depends on the nature of concern.
Right. So when you say that people have to be willing to make certain changes, so it also means that it's a very collaborative process, and that's what I have been reading and hearing about psychotherapy, that it has to be collaborative. Could you talk to us a little bit more about that?
So psychotherapy is a collaborative facilitative process in which both the client and the therapist work jointly on areas of concern. A lot of times when a client or a patient comes to me, they are aware of what is bothering them. Sometimes they're not aware of what is bothering them, and initial sessions are spent on uncovering that. So they come with what bothers them. Together, we work on, with the help of certain home assignments and certain reflective activities, that why it is bothering them. And then we go on to how do we change it or how do we manage it. That's the entire process. So when I say collaboration, a lot of onus lies on the relationship that the client and the therapist share. In fact, for a therapy to be effective, it is very important that the foundation is based on this relationship, on building this relationship where there is mutual trust. There is a rapport which is formed. There is a sense of belonging, and that is one of the reasons why a lot of effort by therapists is placed on making the client feel safe in that space that is created in the therapy. So it is collaborative because both, it's important that both are involved and work jointly on certain things. And besides being collaborative, it is facilitative because a therapist will facilitate, and it is the client who acts upon that. So ultimately, it is the client who is going to take those steps. It's not the therapist who's sitting with a bag of solutions to help the client. And a lot of times, when people come and they have that expectation, it is better to set it right in the first session that you're not sitting with a bag of solutions to be provided.
So does that mean that you should, when we are looking for a therapist, we should also try and look for somebody perhaps that we have more of a cultural affinity with, or somebody maybe who we think is more open or is going to be easy to talk to? Because how else do we build that comfort? Because eventually it's a complete stranger that we are talking to, right? How hard is it for people to get comfortable in therapy? Is there anything they can do about it? Like, should they look for a therapist who they have some sort of an affinity with? If you could talk about that.
I think it is very important to understand that sometimes, usually it's by a word of mouth, or it's usually a referral that comes. Many a times people even go on and check about, therapists and their ratings and how they are being, what kind of experiences shared by their clients and things like that. But to each one, the experience may differ. That is why initial sessions are very important. I think what is important in your choosing a therapist is to first check on the expertise, education, the background, experience, and everything. I think all of those things are very, very significant, because while somebody may be very pleasant in the interaction that you have with that person, if that person is not trained in a certain area, it may not work. So, for example, I may not have certain areas that I work in, and I would refer the client to someone who works in that area, and I focus on other areas. So I think it is very important to check on that. Those background checks are very important. As far as the cultural sensitivity is concerned, most therapists, when you're choosing a therapist, you need to see and maybe communicate in your initial sessions and try and understand if there is a cultural sensitivity that the therapists have with respect to the background, ethnicity, and belief system. Usually, therapists are trained not to bring in their own beliefs in or their value system into the therapy. They're supposed to be very objective people, and they reflect back what the client tells them without letting their own biases, kind of color that perception or interfere in the therapeutic process. And again, like I said, that culturally sensitive therapy would accommodate and respect differences in opinions, values, and attitude towards different cultures and different set of people. So you would have an idea in your initial interactions with your therapist. A lot of times, I can share that as a therapist, my value system and my client's value system may not be in sync, but I try not to let that interfere and be more objective about it. That comes, of course, with a lot of training, experience, and expertise. And that's not something, and that is what we are trained to. That is what is taught to us. So you have to, if you don't feel comfortable, you would get to know in the initial few sessions.
Sure. What if we feel, in therapy that, let's say our therapist is not being empathetic towards us, or, is not able to understand that, what if we feel that even after a few sessions, we are not making any progress? Are there any red flags? Also, is it a therapist's job to be empathetic, or do they only have to be completely objective and offer you solutions in the way they are trained to? Tell us more about that.
Empathy is at the core of psychotherapy. So if a therapist is not empathetic, I think probably there's something lacking there. Empathy, unconditional positive regard, acceptance of the client, and being being respectful, no matter how different the value system is. These are very, very significant things. And empathy is something which is one of the core skills that is required to be a psychotherapist. If you think that after initial sessions you and your therapist are not able to connect on areas, or you feel that probably there are certain areas which are not being understood, or you're not able to understand, it's important to communicate completely and freely to your therapist about what is working and what is not working. In fact, in my psychotherapy sessions, I often encourage my clients to be honest about the reflections I tell them to do and the understanding that we both mutually discuss in our sessions. Like, I always tell them that psychotherapy is not what I do in the session with you. I initiate the process. It is what you do between our two sessions that constitute therapy. So I think it is very important that if you're not feeling comfortable even after a couple of sessions, please communicate that to your client, to your therapist. As a client, you have every right to share whatever you are feeling, and I think a good therapist will allow for disagreement, for a space where you can share how you feel about it. Remember, psychotherapy is not what happens in that 1 hour of interaction or 1.5 hour of interaction with your therapist. I always tell my clients it's what you do between our two sessions that matters most. How you reflect on what we have discussed and the explanations and understandings that we have gone through. I often encourage them to share if they remember, therapists will always share with you whatever observations they are making based on what you share with them. Those can be looked as hypotheses or probabilities, and they can be disputed or agreed upon in your subsequent interactions. But if you feel that the explanations or the work that your therapist is doing with you is not making sense, or you're not able to connect well, or it's not working, please feel free to share that with your therapist. And maybe both of you need to revisit on the goals and the approach that is being taken. And that is why this is a collaborative relationship. And that is why it is very important to convey that. In fact, with any doctor, you should be honest about what is working, what is not working. But at the same time, it could also be that sometimes clients have unrealistic expectations. Like, very often after first session, few clients would want to feel better, and I think it's very unreasonable to think that one session will help you. A lot of times after first session, they feel very relieved and they feel very relaxed, and they are like, I felt much better. And it could just be that they have done the catharsis, or they've shared something with someone they've not done before, and it eases them off. A lot of times, initial sessions of therapy can be extremely demanding and can increase your anxiety or your feeling not so good about certain things, which is also very, very okay. But be open, share whatever and however you feel with your therapist, because that is important observation for therapists to know. And don't be shy in sharing that something's not working, or maybe you need a little more guidance and understanding on that area.
You would say that, being empathetic, feeling that your therapist is being empathetic is important.
Very important, very, very important. And I think initial sessions need to reflect that in the approach: empathy, unconditional positive regard, establishing a rapport and a sense of trust. A lot of time is to be spent in developing that, because these are the foundations, or they kind of create a safe space for the client to share and to learn.
Right. What, according to you, is the successful outcome of therapy? When should a person who's going to therapy feel that, yes, I am, these are the things I am achieving, and and I can feel satisfied now. I mean, it's also going to be personal perception, but what would you call is a successful outcome?
So I think for a therapy to be effective, you have to you have to feel that you belong in that process. You have to feel involved in the process, and also in initial sessions, both therapist and the client decide on certain goals to be worked upon. They could be in whatever order that is decided by the therapist and the client. you should be able to probably arrive at a better perspective on those areas that you have shared with your therapist. You should have achieved a few of those goals. Again, be reasonable. If there are areas of concern which have existed for a number of years, it's a process. They can't be rushed up, and they will not be resolved in a couple of sessions. But to say that therapy is effective is when you're able to identify the patterns, when you become more self aware, when you're able to identify the patterns that are unhealthy, and you are able to recognize them and become a less reactive in your approach and more, proactive and more aware of why things bother you. I think you're on the right track, or the therapy is being effective for you. The feeling of well-being, a lot of feeling of well-being comes when you become aware of why something is bothering you. That is why in the approach that therapists take, most therapists work on uncovering the whys of the what. So why something? So that itself, when you become aware of the why, it becomes very therapeutic to know, okay, so this is something why I've been feeling this way, or this is something why I react in a certain manner. When you do that why, two things happen. One, you become aware, you're able to identify, and you also get meaning into the ways in which you respond or you react to certain situations. So I think the successful outcome or the effectiveness of therapy is based on how you feel in the entire process, how much you're able to identify the pattern, and what kind of goal achievement have you kept for yourself. And if you are able to achieve that or move towards that, I think that demarcates the effectiveness of therapy.
Right. Would you say that therapy can help people heal from pain from traumatic events or traumatic childhood experiences or previous relationships, or does it have to be that that you need to be on medication? Because that's another pain point, I think, for people, because we get really worried that if I go to therapy, then they're going to prescribe me medication, and that's not something I want to do. So tell us a little bit more about that.
So first and foremost, we have to understand therapists don't prescribe medication, at least not in India. And then medication at times may be necessary for a certain condition, may not be necessary in certain conditions. Psychotherapy for all mental health issues is required from day one. So medicine can be, sometimes after a couple of sessions, we realize that probably we need medication as well, but psychotherapy in any case is required. Now, coming to the part of the question that you asked, that whether they can heal from the trauma or not. So therapy, this is a very popular saying that says that, it's not that trauma never existed. It is just that trauma no longer controls your life. And that is what therapy is probably focusing upon. It will not take away the memory or the existence of trauma. You can't undo what happened with you in the past. But you can definitely, through psychotherapy, work upon the fact that it no longer controls what you do in your current life. It may take a bit of a time. It may be something which you need to work more intensively over a couple of, longer sessions with your therapist. And a lot of times, it's like I said, it's a process, so it might be time consuming. It may be very, very heavy on you, overbearing, demanding. But definitely the aim is to reduce its hold on what you do in your current life. And in that way, yes, the healing can happen. Healing is, and the saying is that healing is that, it doesn't negate the possibility that, or the fact that a trauma existed, but it means that the trauma no longer controls your life. And that is what I think the focus of therapy is.
That's beautiful. It gives me it already gives me so much hope. You mentioned that of course therapists don't prescribe medication, and that's another important thing I think a lot of us don't realize. So could you talk to us about the difference between psychiatrists, psychologists, psychotherapists? What are the different types, and how are they basically different than each other, and which is the one we are supposed to approach?
So a psychiatrist is somebody who's who has an MBBS degree and who's then specialized or done his master's or MD in psychiatry and is basically trained in pharmacological management. They are trained to diagnose and prescribe medication. They also are aware of the various forms of psychotherapy, but the intensive training that is required to become a psychotherapist is usually given to people who have had a background in psychology. So a lot of people who've done their bachelor's, undergrad, and postgrad in psychology are known as psychologists. And there are counselors who probably work more on advice giving or guidance and working maybe at the at probably the very superficial or maybe at the baseline level, but not really deeper level. Psychotherapists are somebody who have been trained intensively and over a period of time in a very specialized way to understand why different concerns with respect to mental health exist in people and how they can be worked upon. They are given that training and that education, and their expertise is to work at a deeper level. They specialize in assessment, diagnosis, and psychotherapeutic work with clients on mental health concerns. So while psychiatrists will prescribe you medication, a psychotherapist would work extensively on, probably developing an understanding of why things are bothering you and developing certain skills. And counselors at times could be the starting point. If you're not able to deal with something, then people often go to counselors who then refer them further for either psychotherapy or to psychiatrists. Many a times when people find it easier to approach a psychiatrist, they also refer people for therapy because medication may or may not be required depending upon the situation. Like I said, for all mental health concerns, we cannot negate the importance and effectiveness of psychotherapy. Everything else is optional.
Wonderful. I have so many more questions. I think we can talk about it so much more, but we don't have that much time today. But let's get back and talk a little bit more about therapy and whether we should get it and what are the benefits, and clarify more of our doubts. But thank you so much for talking to us today. I have learned a lot, and I hope that so will our viewers. But thank you so much for talking to you. It's always a pleasure.
I hope that our viewers are able to benefit from this interview because it's very important that the myths regarding psychotherapy are cleared and people don't hesitate to reach out for help, because I see a lot of people who suffer because they are not clear about what mental health services are available to them and what they are all about. I would love to take it up in more detail in our subsequent sessions. So let's plan that.
Wonderful. Thank you.